Welcome to the Chit Chat, a monthly podcast series with Shashi Seshadri. Join us as we sit down with Scube's CEO and co-founder for meaningful conversations about what makes Scube Scube. From answering your questions to welcoming inspiring guest speakers, nothing is off the table. So grab your headphones and a cuppa, settle in, and let's dive into this month's episode of the Chit Chat. Hello, CEO Office. This is our 6th episode of the Chit Chat. Shashi?
It is, and it's so good to have you back launching it, given the fantastic disaster job I did last.
Oh, no. I was a guest in last month's episode, but
I'm
this
so
month
glad you were a
we
guest
both
once.
we both feel happier on these sides of the desk.
I feel relieved and relaxed.
Yes. So do you want to kick things off by introducing the Scube family members that are with us today, or should we have them introduce themselves?
Where do we go with this? Yeah, maybe I will.
Why don't you take us back to the very first time the words CEO Office were spoken about? Because it's only been fresh in Scuba's minds for the last year now, I would say, as a unit. Can you remember the first conversation about the creation of the CEO Office?
Yeah, but we didn't call it a CEO office at that point in time, to be honest, isn't it? Yeah. So I think 9 months back? No, 12 months back. I said to Rob,
15 months back.
15 months back, I think I had a chat with Rob for the first time, and I said, fancy a new gig. He was confused, totally new gig. What do you mean by that? Because for him, the world was developer services, isn't it? So I said,
Yeah, of
"That's
course.
a new gig." So, and of course, I have a repute to keep. So I can see he was thinking, flipping it, where is this going? And then I said, well, it's a new role, you'll be like shadowing me and working with me and all of that. And then naturally he defaulted to, oh, I'm like a glorified PA in life. I said, no, it's very good. You have intelligence, you have many attributes that work well. And it's a good opportunity to see how you take the next step forward. He asked me for a job spec.
You did.
Let's ask for a bit of detail. Yeah. Well, first,
I said, and we'll discover the journey as we go along. He was very clear. He didn't want to drop the head of developer services title. We had a conversation or two about it. So I could see he was unsure whether to land in no man's land or not. But I think, to be fair, it took a while to develop your role into it. I think we're still developing it as we go along. Life is a learning. Feedback is a 1.5 way process. One way from Rob's end, if I get in a word, I do put a word in, and I think most importantly, I think he's wanted it. That's what I would say. Rob's credibility in this role, and the way I would introduce him, is if there is one person in Scube who has wanted a role that he was after and has created it for himself, that's Rob. So I don't just say he's my conscience, but I do mean it, because he has an element of goodness which I don't have. And I think there are moments when I see him behave, react, speak, where I do think, I wish I was that person. So there are lots of things which he brings to the party which are just good attributes that I admire, which I don't have in my silly. So I think that's why I always say what I say about him, and I'll collect a goodie quid later.
it's gone up to 50 now.
Cheap. So I think that's Rob. That's when we started the whole piece around the fact that we needed to work together. We still hadn't spoken about CEO office, I think. And as the months went past, we came to the woods. I think it would have been like 3 months after. I think a month before we came to the woods. And Lou was there, and we all knew her as Sarah then. And I remember her interview was fantastic because I think the way you said to me you wanted to join, but you told me the reasons why you didn't want to join. And she came to interview. I told her all the reasons why she shouldn't join the business. To a point where a day before I was asking the concerned person at that point in time, I was saying, "Flipping heck, are you really sure she's still joining? Has she resigned from her job? Who all does she have at home? Is she the only breadwinner? What does she do?" So I was genuinely feeling like I was doing something wrong with with Lou coming on board. And
Why?
I think I couldn't relate at that point in time to her ever in-depth full optimism about life. I just couldn't. It was too much for me to take in when I came in for an interview process. When she came in, to feel like I went for the interviews. And when she came in for the interview process, I just couldn't get it. I was thinking, really? So I said to her things like, "Oh, you don't know, we're like bad people. You'll have to wait."
You agree?
I did say that. I said, "This is not an 8 to 5 job. I mean, you don't know what you're coming into. We are nasty people. I have mood swings. I have this. I have that." I would think like I was really.
Interview.
I know, I was like, oh, but I love you.
And then she kept saying, "Oh yeah, I want to join." Thinking, are you like out of your mind? Why do you want to join this business? No, join. And then she kept saying, "No, I want to join." So I was like, so at that time I felt the real sense of duty, and I genuinely felt there was a welfare issue from my board.
How do you feel about it now?
Yeah. No, but I think we really found Lou here, isn't it? The day she was trying to drop that CV in my office, and she asked permission, and then I called her in and I said, "What do you mean you're asking permission?" I said, "No one ever asked permission to come into this office, and you never will." And I'm so glad you took that so clinically after that. She never asked permission after that, but I think that's when we discovered Lou, and then logically a few things evolved. The whole talent piece was with Lou, and then we were talking about some more capacity, bandwidth, and then we realized we were doing a few things on talent that needed a more CEO office led home. I think that's when CEO office conversations really kicked off.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I'll finish the introduction. I know you're itching to say something.
I'm done. Yeah.
You have to sing that Partridge song. Then
Oh.
that's the only ends with.
Thing.
But I think that's what Lou's about for me. Eternal optimism, eternal positivity, and I think we all are learning through that. I think that's 20 quid as well. But I think that's a big plus. And then
The suspense.
pens. No, I think when Imogen joined, I remember her interview very well, because we thought we'd finished the interview, and then I just said, "Do you have any questions?" And suddenly the book opened.
I can so see that for you. I don't know why.
And I was thinking, wow, I'm here ahead of something now, because I quite like a bit of that.
Yeah.
And someone then has a whole raft of questions to ask, and so tick tick, yeah, okay, that you've already asked, answered, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, by the way,
Had to be right for me too.
yeah, which is good. I mean, I genuinely like that, because the thing is, many a times, and I think with everyone joining, you need a bit of that. You need to find the purpose behind why one is joining, why one is sort of leaving their job, and what do they want to find in a new home and in a new setup. So I thought there definitely was a piece. There definitely was a piece where I was quite heroic in saving Imogen on day one, but we won't go through that today. But it's a small little secret that the two of us share. Would you agree, my dear?
I agree.
Day one, within the first half of a day, I was there,
You had my back.
which I thought was quite good.
I don't know this story.
Yeah, so
That
one
one
largely not while it's being recorded, but definitely one that you
It progressed well.
It progressed well since, yeah, which is quite cool. But I think definitely the piece where I think I connected with Imogen was a very honest conversation in the early days of being in peer offices, where I think to say it right, we genuinely wanted to be sure your purpose to be there was achieved. And I'm so glad that she took it on positively and followed through on the conversation, because I think the more you followed through, the more you found your voice and the more you found your personality coming through. So when we were looking at transformation, it just felt right, isn't it, Rob? With that, like I could visualize Imogen doing that bit, and it's so good to say that over the months there's a bit of a soul that she's connected with sort of all of us much better, and whilst she's
He's trying to say he was worried it wasn't there.
yeah, I think it was always there. It was the connection I was talking. Soul is always there. How can it not be there? Deep down, it's always. Everyone has its soul. It's the connection.
Yeah.
Connection. But the connection is very, very important, and that is a two-way process, isn't it? So I think from that perspective, there's a conscience, there's an ever optimist, and there is a very good soul. I think that soul connection is where I associate with Imogen, and I think the other definite piece Imogen is not scared to speak her mind, which I think is a very positive, good virtue, and it is not one that is dictated by who, at what level he is speaking or not. So I think that is a very, very big positive, and that's one that I respect a lot. So I think CEO office for me is a composition of personalities, and I think many people say, they're your favorites. It's not favorites. Everyone's my favorite. Everyone who spends time with me becomes my favorite, because at the end of the day, favoritism is not a function of. It's a function of interaction. It's a function of working together, understanding each other's pluses, minuses, and all of that. But definitely there is conscience, there is eternal happiness and optimism, and there is a very good sword. And I'm sure we have space for more characteristics and virtues as we grow. But CEO office has to deliver a purpose. The purpose is to deliver outcomes that are championed and sponsored from the CEO and the chief exec down the way through the business without complicating it.
Rob,
Oh gosh.
so you were working with, as I think a lot of people can relate to at Scube, a lot of our roles evolve over time. We create the role that fits the scuba rather than a role that a person needs to fit. So in your past year, in your role as chief of staff, head of CEO office,
Well, slash. It's a new thing.
how has your role changed compared to maybe expectations you had?
So I think expectations is probably not the right part to start, because I don't think I really had any expectations of the role. We had a very loose conversation. We just moved into our new home. Oh gosh,
That was very clear about it.
you might have been clear in your own way. I don't get as close to anyone else about what it was going to be. At that time, we moved into the woods. We got a board. OPCO was formed. We just rolled out a business plan. So actually, naturally, things just kind of cascaded into one another. After that, it was very much then the summer event. It was then the establishment of managed service at Southern. DPP was all being formed. Then we're already in September, October time, and actually, I think everything kind of just developed itself, and it was more about let's do the right thing, and let's roll with it, and things keep evolving. And I think that's what we do every single day now. I don't sit and say, hold on, that's outside of my job description or outside of my expectations of my job. We just jump in and do things that are right, and it works, I think.
Yeah. Good answer. And good answer, yeah. And how has it changed since bringing Lou and Imogen into the fold?
So I think it brings a completely different dimension to it. I think back to Shashi's points around different personalities, it brings that to life in many different ways. Is the energy that's kind of wrapped around it. From Lou's point of view, it's brought kind of the talent, onboarding piece, Scube features, all of the exciting things that come with all of that, but also kind of that energy and optimism every single day. I think it's needed. We can sometimes be down in the detail of preparing this document and come doom and gloom around how do we get all of this sorted out, and the energy can be down to actually can lift us up out of that sometimes. I think from an Imogen point of view, obviously brings the whole wealth of the HR and people world, but also all the transformation stuff that comes together and really gives us that connection to the actual the outcome, that because we can get lost in the deal and the process of growing the business, but there's also a whole scuba element to all of that, and how do we connect all of that back into what we're doing, and then we can brings that in and buckets as well.
And for you two, how did your time at Scube change, or your journeys change once you joined CEO office?
I think it was over a long period of time. It wasn't just like one day, overnight, complete transition. I remember I was having conversations with Shashi, and the way we described it was kind of just float. Just let it happen. And that is literally what you did. You just kind of, there was no like hard cut, like, okay, today your people team, tomorrow your CEO office. It was kind of an evolution of time. But I think my perspective on it is, when I look back, like it's just such a broader lens across the whole of Scube. I think it was, I know we talk about kind of being siloed and things, and I don't think we were siloed, but my perspective when I first joined was very much all around kind of, recruitment, talent. That was the only thing I kind of thought about. But actually coming into CEO office gave me a perspective on the much broader picture of everything. So I think that was definitely a big shift for me. But
Yeah. I mean, in terms for me, it was very similar in terms of how it evolved. So it was over a period of time, and the existing people team, and now there's 2 new individuals within that team as well, that was evolving and shaping to as it is today. So it wasn't a situation where either Law or I could just get up and move out of the people team and come into CEO office. So it happened quite organically, I would say. I think with my role particularly, I find it really fun because we're always looking at things ahead into the future. So there's really exciting projects that we talk about, which we're usually really open and honest, obviously, with Scubas, but there's things that we know are coming as well, which we're really excited to share with people. But it's always just what the Scuba wants. Coming from that sort of background, as Rob said, that is something that is very much sort of in my mind. Can never fully go away from HR. No, what did you? It's there. I just enjoy working on the projects.
And what does the future of the CEO office look like then? Is it going to be growing in numbers? Is it going to be changing its focus? What does it look like, or do we not know? Is it?
I think it's a combination of everything. I think it will grow. Absolutely. Because I think there are some functions and some capabilities that I think we need to hold before we make it a department, or before we say that's how it is. I think that's one. I think second is there's some specialisms that as a business we need to start to be more familiar with. So, I think customer management, that whole, how do you deal with relationships and how do you convert those relationships? I think I struggle to see a lot of us in Scube just going out for a meal in the evening, whereas we should. I think Rob and I, between us, must be doing at least 5-7 dinners a week. Not just together, isn't it? Because we're, there are days when you have your own, evening, and I have my own evening, and it's not just about with people in Scube. I think it's with clients as well, to be honest. And you have to connect with people, because in leadership you need the connection. You can't stay in a silo. You have to be accessible, and you've got to understand the mode music of the business and also the mode music of the clients. So I think future leadership is about that, and future leadership is about investing in that. And yeah, I mean, future capabilities are part of that. I mean, the more I think Lou, Imogen invests and wants it for themselves, I think the more this is a fast track to leadership. So it takes a lot to, I think, the way you said float and the way you said, sort of bubbled organically through it. We don't make decisions overnight. It takes us a lot of time before, yes, we spot talent. And there's at any given point in time talent that is spotted. But it doesn't mean you work on it overnight. You've got to watch it. It's a constant process. And I think easily with both Lou and Imogen, we would have spent 3 months, and I would have spent more than 15 months before I even approached Rob for that for that role. It wasn't one that I just woke up in the morning and said, "We'll talk to Rob tomorrow." I have explored every permutation combination in my head on what I would have visualized Rob to do, and I think fair play to him. I think he's come out to it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a lot to learn, but there's a lot to learn for all of us in the scheme of things. No one is perfect. CEO office is not a privileged lot. It is a hardworking lot. We all have outcomes to deliver, and if at all, I think they get feedback direct, straight, right? So it doesn't matter whether it is a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday. They will get feedback as it is. So that's one thing they know, and they equally know me. So they don't need to spend too much time to understand what my headspace is, what it isn't. But I think there's a lot more to go at, isn't it?
Can you remember what it was about Rob that planted the seed for those initial thoughts of, I think he would be a good fit for this sort of role where he's shadowing?
Just the person. I think that's all I would say is the person. I always look for the person. The capability comes when the person wants it. So, because, each one has their own journey, right? I think I said that to Lou. I said it to Imogen as well.
Yeah.
You all have your own journeys. I can't change my journey. But if you need to be on this ride and you want to run the pace, you equally need to want it. So I think, did I know that Rob would want it as badly as he, in such a, sorry, when I say as badly, in a very good way, like, as I was thinking, where did that sentence go? But what I said was, sometimes you got that sentence that says, I really want it badly. Which means you throw yourself into it. Right? So that's where I was going through. You throw yourself into it.
Yeah.
And there was a point where you have to overcome insecurity. And you have to overcome insecurity with trust that he won't fail me. So I think that is a journey each one has to find for themselves. I think even with Lou and Imogen, they haven't, you all have not yet gone into the depth of that yet, to be honest. There are moments I'm sure we will find where you will be flipping it, do you have my back or not? But I think we've crossed that between Rob and I. I think I can see that in him because I can tell him anything under Mother Earth. And I know that he could get upset or he could get too happy, but he knows how to manage that emotion. I think we still have some way to go, but that's a function of time. It's a function of spending more time together. It's a function of working together in the scheme of things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about knowing each other, isn't it? And I think you can't replicate that any other way other than spending time together. And a lot of that comes with self-sacrifice, and you have to be willing to jump into that. And that isn't for everybody. And I think what we're not saying is this is the only path to success in Skew, raising the flag for that. I think everything is a consequence of time, and I think it's perceived as a place of privilege and place of favoritism. But I think step the other side of the fence a little bit and kind of see the hard work and graft and feedback and constant reiteration that goes on behind the background to produce you.
I think it's a constant journey. Shashi talked about that innate goodness you have that Shashi said he doesn't. I think out of everyone at Skewb, you probably, this is a big statement, but you probably care the most about Skewbers and Skewb, to the extent where, you will reach out to Skewbers late at night, check in on them, make sure they're okay, but you're also navigating your own journey through Skewb. And I'm guessing that is also a constant, journey in itself of navigating that.
I can just see, you left color coordinated as red piggy. So fantastic to watch with admiration. I didn't know if I missed out on a WhatsApp, but at least we've got something
neutral,
something going.
We all kind of coordinate. You all were in a bit of like a textured.
Yeah, I'm just finding it hard to find.
I feel like you didn't have this is not in your repertoire.
No. What aspect of your personality do you bring the most into your role at work? That's my vision.
Great.
Into your role at work.
Role at work.
And when you interact with people in Skewb, what aspect of the personality do you bring the most?
So it's really funny that actually we asked this question because it's almost like I'm prepared for it. But I was thinking ages ago, I did this exercise where you like pick your like top 3 values and then like you can reflect back on those. And I think the key value that like always sticks to me and I always try and lean back into is around loyalty. And I think that's the bit that I try and bring to Skewb every day. And not loyalty to Shashi or loyalty to Skewb, but loyalty to everybody else. And I think that's the day probably feeds into the statement you just made. I think loyalty is really important. Like we all give a lot of it to each other and we all really lean into it. But it has to be a two-way street and people have to be loyal back to me as a person and loyal back to Skewb. So I think that's the bit that is inside of work but also outside. It's not, I don't differentiate. So I think that bit's.
What about you, Imogen?
I think this goes back to the point you made when you were describing me about how I'm sort of happy to challenge, I suppose. But for me, one of the biggest things is honesty. And it actually goes back to being at school. I always used to come back from school and my mum would say, "What have you learned today?" And whether I said anything or not, or whatever my grades were, her response was always, "Well, as long as you've tried your best." And for me, that almost goes back into that honesty thing where actually, if I wasn't honest with my view on something and actually told you my opinion of what I thought, if I went home that evening, to me, I haven't given my best that day because I haven't actually said what I thought on a situation. So that's probably a very sort of psychological view of maybe where that has come from. But for me, being honest and challenging in the right way and saying what I actually think, whether it's right or wrong, because I often ask for feedback as well on, is this right, is it not? But it comes from there, and I think it's really key.
Very good answers.
What about you? No pressure.
I think Shashi obviously said about kind of the optimism and enthusiasm about things, and I think I do have that. Don't get me wrong, everybody has days where maybe that isn't always at the forefront, but if I kind of translate that into what I think people then perceive that as in terms of my kind of personality, I think I always want to feel as though I'm almost like a safe space for people. And I think actually if I can be that really like trusted person that maybe if somebody is having a bit of a down day and they can come to me and they can kind of confide in me and I will try and help lift them up, for me that's something that hopefully I'm able to do. And I think as well it's about consistency as well. Like, you know, like I said, everybody does sometimes have down days, but it's not then to be for me to kind of project onto everyone else if I am seen as that kind of safe person. So I think for me, yeah, that's what I bring.
So I think you see 3 different perspectives. And I think for me, these perspectives are what ensures I many a times feel I don't need to worry about things. Because when I have 3 of you, you know, applying these perspectives in a very honest situation, it just means a lot because I think that's what you want. And I think then you add on to it capability and then you add on to it skills and then you could be, I think we as a team are quite honest with each other. Sometimes blunt. I think we could be more blunter. But I think we need a bit of that without taking it too personally. And we don't try to manage each other. I can just make out, I just need to look at their eyes and I just know exactly what's running on their head. And they know, when they look at me, what's running on my head. Like, they knew when I sat down, as I was having lunch, there was something running on my head. And as much as I said to them, it's all fine, nothing's running on my head. I know that question will resurface before 5 o'clock back again, just to say exactly what was running on my head. But I think that's what keeps, that is a key value for us, isn't it? But the key thing is that where you have Skewb values overlapping with your own values, I think that's where the magic happens. And I think that's what you need. We don't need a team meeting we do team meetings pretty much every day. I think every hour we're constantly talking about what is happening, what is not happening. And you need a bit of that line of sight across the board in the scheme of things. Yeah. It is a hardworking bunch, which is good. And I do say to them, when you act, always remember that it is also a reflection of me. Because that word CEO is a very strong word, right? It implies a right to behave in a particular manner, and good or not so good, a perception of that, even if I know about it or don't know about it, gets attributed to me in the scheme of things. So I think it is very important on those roles that there is that degree of openness into personalities beyond just the work role, because only then we can understand each other as people.
Imogen, Rob, Lou, thank you very much for joining Shashi and I. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Chit Chat. If you have a question for Shashi, send it to jessica.milligan@scube.uk. Join us next month for more thought-provoking discussions and behind-the-scenes insights into our company. Until then, stay curious and have a chit chat. Let's keep the conversation going.